I have done so many logic models for nonprofits over the years, and it is my number one opt-in on my website, and it is my number one viewed video, my logic model video. So a lot of people are interested in logic models, and they know that they need to have them for most grants. But what I don't want you to do, and what a lot of people do, is they create their logic model and then they put it in a file folder and then that's it. And I do not want you to sit on your logic model, because your logic model, once this is done, everything's done. So many things are done. And so you should maximize them. Okay. This is shifting, okay, from the mindset of like, I have to do all these things because somebody told me I have to do them. And then, or shifting to the fact that you are a strategic thinker. And if I do this, I don't need to do so many other things. So today we are talking about how you maximize that logic model or your theory of change and put it to use so that you can do less, be clear, and be impactful. I love it. All right, let's talk about it. Welcome to episode 41 of For Purpose Live, where I help you get clear, get focused, and be impactful by showing you how to step fully into the calling that you've been given without taking on that common narrative that if you're a nonprofit executive director, you have to struggle. That's right. Together, we can get you in your sweet spot using your strengths and talents to serve this world and build a movement for your cause simply by living for purpose, on purpose. I'm Rebecca Britt, your host, and today we are talking about logic models because you guys obviously want to hear about logic models, and I love logic models, okay? But I didn't want to be a logic model expert per se, but I just knew that these were needed in the industry. But now that I am an expert, I realize, holy smokes, these are the key. Okay, before we get started, if you want a free logic model template, you can go on over to forpurposelive.com/logic, download it. It's a Word document. You can just start writing out your template. And this is the template that I got in my graduate studies directly from my graduate program. So it's a legit template, even though there's so many out there. You can grab that at forpurposelive.com/logic. And if you're loving this, or if you just want to help me out, please like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so today we're talking about 3 ways that you can maximize it. If you have developed your logic model, which a logic model just breaks down the components of your program, which you should know the components of your program. All a logic model is inputs. So what's everything that your program takes to run? If I was going to go run your program tomorrow, what's all the things that I would need? Okay. Outputs. So what activities do you actually do? Workshops, classes, do you feed people? Is it an event? Okay. What do you actually do? For who? Who are your participants? And what does participation look like? Is it one-on-one sessions? Is it group counseling? Is it a meeting every week? What does participation look like, and who are you serving? And then outcomes. What do people immediately get? Like what knowledge, what skills, what confidence, what feelings? And then medium-term outcomes. What actions do they take once you've given them that confidence and those feelings? What's the next step for them? And then if they take these next steps, ultimately, what's going to happen for them? You know, ideally, they're going to obtain housing. Ideally, the community will have less crime. Like, what's the ultimate goal? Okay, and how do you really affect society? Okay, so if you have a program that you believe is meaningful and impactful, then you should be able to articulate all of this, right? It should be easy for you to tell me. And if you're like overwhelmed by a logic model, just think about telling me, okay, what does it take to run your program? Who do you serve? What does participation look like? What do people get? And then if they get that, what do they do with it? And then if they do all of those things, what also is the ultimate end goal? You guys, it's not that hard. Okay, so once you have your logic model done, please do not put it in a file drive and put it away, okay? You have the keys to the castle, and you can maximize it so that you don't have to do a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay, so now program evaluation. A lot of people struggle with, what do I track? How do I evaluate my programs? How do I evaluate my programs for major impact? Okay, you now can determine meaningful metrics. You literally have the document that says what you're trying to do for who and exactly the outcomes people should get. So that's what you track. If you say that people have increased confidence or increased awareness or they have increased education, then that's what you're going to track. You're going to track how many people have increased confidence or what percentage of people that go through your program got meals or got clothing, okay? What percentage felt like they had their dignity restored, okay? Then, if your medium-term outcomes are that they actually took action, they talked to a legislator, they went on to develop life skills, they applied for jobs, there you go. There's your, what percentage of people that go for your program actually apply for jobs? What percentage actually get jobs, okay? So you have meaningful metrics developed right into the logic model. Choose the ones that are most meaningful, and that's what you're going to report on, okay? So that brings me to my second reason for developing a logic model and how to maximize it is to get funding, okay? So now, if you are asking for funding for any of your programs, I feel like you need to have a logic model. You need to be doing your due diligence. And if somebody asked you to quickly articulate what all your program takes, what activities you do, who you serve, what they get from it, and what your outcomes are, you should be able to hand them a logic model or a theory of change that articulates it quickly so that if they wanted to talk about it, or if they wanted to determine if they were going to give you funding for it, it would be just so easy for them to see exactly your theory of change or the logic behind your program of how you are changing something for a population. If you've created a logic model, don't just put it away and then go out and do a fundraising campaign that's separate. Okay? Take your logic model and break it into slides, into a pitch deck, all right? And say, this is who we serve. This is why we serve them. This is what we do. This is the approach we take. These are the immediate outcomes that they get. These are the medium-term outcomes, ideally or ultimately leading to these incredible outcomes. This is what it takes to run our program. You put all the inputs in there, and we are asking for support of X number of dollars to fund the program for a year, to partial fund or whatever. Okay? You have your pitch deck. Now you send it to them. Or your theory of change can be all written out, beautiful narrative, has a lot more than just the boxes of the logic model, but it has a lot more of like compelling language, which I have recently launched a course to become a logic model and theory of change expert so that these are so easy for you, and it's broken down where I actually give a lot of this flowery language that I talk about. I actually give it as copy and paste, but there's a way to articulate your program so that you're not just doing mentorship, but you're creating healthy relationships or you're developing life skills, you know? So we're really talking about the effect you're having rather than just what you're doing, okay? So then you can get funding. Create your pitch deck, use your logic model, like use it. Determine your meaningful metrics and then use it as a pitch deck. And guess what? When you're going to get funding, you say, if you give us this funding, we will report back quarterly, biannually, annually, or at the end of the program, these meaningful metrics, which we've already determined, right, with the logic model. So we will let you know the percentage of people that ended up going through the program, the percentage of people that graduated, the percentage of people that got jobs, like whatever you're tracking, you can tell them, like, we're already ahead of the game. And before you ask for a report on your funding, we're going to tell you how we're going to report to you. This is what we're tracking, and this is what we can tell you. And then finally, so you've already figured out your program evaluation, what metrics you're tracking. You've already figured out now how to fundraise, right? How do you use your logic model to get funding? Boom, it's all there. And finally, it's a communication campaign. You literally take all the pieces of the logic model, all of the inputs, all of the activities that you do, and you use it as a way to spoon feed to your audience who you are and what you do and what outcome and impact you're making. Okay, so there can be a whole bunch of did you know posts. Did you know it takes this many horses? Did you know that it takes this much food to feed the horses? Did you know it takes this many volunteers to run this program? Did you know that we have one-on-one weekly mentorship programs? Did you know that we feed this many people a day? Did you know that it takes this much energy to run the kitchen that we have? Whatever it is, okay? Did you know each person gets an individualized plan of care? Did you know that each person gets a certificate from the housing authority? Did you know, okay? Break it all down. Did you know that we have everybody do activity logs, or that we do pre and post testing so that we can evaluate our programs to always make sure that they're impactful? And then the outcomes portion will be like, did you know that we had 25 people go through the program? Did you know that 82% of people that go through the program graduate or have this outcome, okay? So you have because the logic model breaks everything down to such a granular level, almost every single line of the logic model, every single bit that you put in there can be its own post on social. You can literally break this down. People want to be spoon-fed, and even if you think people know what you do, they don't understand the level of complexity of what you deliver. And so breaking it down so that people can really get bought into like, wow, they know their population, they know their services, they have a really unique approach, they have a complex approach. They do so much there. I didn't realize all that it took and all that they do to get the outcomes, the amazing outcomes that they have. Okay? So if you have a logic model done, you don't go and go, now that we have our logic model, we need to go figure out how to get fundraising. Now that we have our logic model, we need to go figure out how do we determine metrics. And now that we have a logic model, we need to figure out what should we tell everybody? What should we put in our newsletter? If you have a logic model, you have your metrics, you have your pitch deck for funders, and you have your communications campaign. If you're like, cool, Rebecca, I would love to develop my logic models and theories of change so that I can have my metrics, so that I can get funding, so that I can build my communications campaign, then I want to let you know about a course that I just launched, which is to become a logic model expert and wow funders with a theory of change without getting overwhelmed by all the technical jargon or wasting a bunch of hours that you don't have. So you can go check that out at forpurposelive.com/logic-model. If you go to forpurposelive.com, there's actually a logic model course, and I'll link it below too. There's a logic model course thing up in the menu. So if you're interested in that, would love to have you go over there, because the more, I feel like this is an easy thing to do, and the more people that understand that you can do less and be more impactful, that's my heart and soul. I used to be an executive director that just did a bunch of things. I was like, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. Everything seemed disjointed. Nothing really worked together, and everything seemed so siloed and took all the energy. And now I'm realizing you create these documents, these fundamental documents, and everything should live off of that. That's what you do. It's who you serve. It's what impact you make. There's nothing more to do, okay? Once you articulate that, it's your story. Keep telling it, okay? You owe it to your donors, to your funders, and to yourself to get simplified, get clear, and maximize these documents that we know that you're working on anyway, okay? If you just want a free logic model template, you can go to forpurposelive.com/logic. Please like and subscribe this channel, and thank you so much for your service to this world.